Much of Confucius's life cannot be distinguished between fact and legend. It is said that he was born on the 28th of September in the year 551 before Common Era in the small state of Lu in northeastern China. However, there is a separate legend that states that he was actually born in the royal state of Song, yet grew up in the state of Lu. Confucius's family was very poor, his father having died when he was 3, leaving his mother to look after him. He married a young woman named Qi Guan and had a son named Kong Li. According to tradition, Confucius studied under Liu Dan, who was a Daoist master, as well as Chang Hai and Shang in music. When Confucius became a teacher himself, he had many disciples, controversy as to how many. And when he was 50, Confucius went into politics, becoming the first appointed minister of public works, followed by a position as the minister of crime. Due to conflicting nobility, he was forced to leave. However, others say that he was exiled. In 484 before Common Era, he returned to teaching permanently until his death in 479. Around 100 before Common Era, the Han Dynasty declared Confucianism to be China's official state philosophy. During the Tang Dynasty, however, it lost its official sanction. But over the last 2 millennia, Confucianism has remained the dominant orthodoxy in Chinese society. Confucius considered life as a process of transformation that moves through different development stages, with each stage having its own task and process. Confucius reviewed his own life process and came to the following stages of life. He created various rituals of Li, which is a proper behavior in a certain situation, which ranges from bowing to an elder or bringing a gift for your host. Society views a serious violation to Li as a violation to the law. The original purpose of Li is to help the individual to express proper ways of building and maintaining caring relationships. Confucianism originated with Confucius' teachings and was adopted by both his disciples and other scholars later on. However, Confucianism as a belief or institution was not developed until long after his death. These beliefs and teachings were transmitted into texts. His 2 most prominent successors prior to the Han Dynasty were Mengzi and Yunzi. They, along with Confucius, are regarded as the founding fathers of this religion. It did not develop in isolation, but side by side with rival schools of thought like Buddhism. There are 2 main founders of Confucianism. The first is Mencius. He was regarded as the most important teacher in Confucianism, second only to Confucius himself. Like Confucius, he is only recorded in texts that are recorded well after his time. He lived in China during the period known as the Warring States, when several states fought one another for supremacy over all of China. This violent time gave way to great enlightenment and schools of philosophy, one of them being Confucianism, which Mengzi was the representative. The second founder was Yunzi. Yunzi offered and developed a more sophisticated and systematic view on Confucianism. He was well acquainted by the doctrines of the time, as well as having studied in the state of Kui, which held the greatest concentration of philosophers in China at that time. He was not afraid to defend his position and raise objections against rival thinkers, unlike many other Chinese philosophers of the time. Confucius looked heavily upon history to draw out elements of his belief and his belief system. Thus, the idea of learning from the past is an integral part of Confucian philosophy. He sought information in the poetic and historic texts of the Western Zhou dynasty, as well as studying the classics of poetry, Xiying. In early Confucianism, a manual of divination called the Yaying was prominent within the belief, emphasizing the idea of a harmonious existence within human beings and the universe allowing them to influence each other. Although Confucius did not deny the existence of another life or world, he believed that people did not need religion to be virtuous, but that human tradition would suffice, and as such, by bettering oneself through reading, writing, poetry, and music, one would become closer to a divine being. Though he did not voice his opinion on religion often, being born in the early Chinese period, he may have been instilled with certain religious beliefs that were present around him. The monotheist belief in the god Tian or sky changing depending on who was in power. Confucius seemed to uphold the tradition of sacrifices to ghosts and ancestors, as well as being deeply related to Tian, despite his other views on religion. He believed that human beings were communing with its cosmic source of moral order, and that we are part of a great chain. All beings are part of a natural and unified cosmos, according to the religion. In Chinese philosophy, the concept of yin-yang literally means shadow and light. It is used to describe how polar opposites are interconnected and interdependent in the natural world, and how they give rise to each other in turn in relation to each other. Although Confucius scholars and followers could not decide on a single purpose in life, many believe that it is to become the perfect person through years of study. He believed that Tian, which is the sky god, was dependent upon human nature. Although he believed that everyone was born the same, they had developed potential that in turn classified the two types of person, the Yunzi, which is the gentleman or the profound person, and the Yaran, which is the small person. Mengzi believed that human nature in itself is good, but that it must be trained through disciplines that related to one's vital energies. Mengzi also believed that one could not buy human without a heart-mind that sympathizes or feels shame. On the other hand, Yunzi claimed that human nature is essentially bad, but can be reformed. Some people in Confucianism believe that suffering and evil are inevitable in life, but that by dealing with them we can grow as a person. Because of this, a mistake is not regarded as a sin, but as an opportunity to learn. Mengzi that disasters such as earthquakes are due to a ruler's moral failure and offer an opportunity to scrutinize them. Later Confucianism scholars believe that the success or failure are derived from the success or failure of human beings. Evil is an absence of goodness. Confucius believed that the afterlife was beyond human comprehension, that succeeding in life means developing one's moral potential as well as fulfilling one's social duties. The worship of ancestors is an important part of Confucianism, and there is no distinct mention of salvation or damnation for the individual person. There are 3 stages in life according to the Confucius religion. The first is birth as a creative life form. Confucianism considers the individual as a link to the chain of existence from the past to the future. The second is young adulthood. At the age of 15, people of the practice transition into adulthood and begin to dress differently. The social symbols of adulthood are given with expectation that the individual will fulfill their role and responsibilities in life adequately with the help of family members and others, which relate to the ethic code of society. The next stage of life is known as the age of independence. With the life established at the age of 30, the individual should establish his career and family as an independent professional. During the time between age 16 and 30, it is important for an individual to begin soul-searching and develop and understand oneself. The final stage of life is known as age of mental maturity. By age 40, a person should have matured and acquired oneself, no longer struggling in a trial and error fashion. As Confucius says, when a person at 40 is the object of dislike, he will always continue what he is. Confucius pursued truth, kindness, and perfection throughout his life, and his success and failure were largely due to his character, which had an everlasting impact on Chinese intellect. It is a common system of moral, social, political, and religious thought which had tremendous influence on the history of Chinese civilization up to the 21st century. Some have considered it to be the state religion of Imperial China. Today it is mostly practiced in China, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. The Communist Party of China favors Confucianism because it relates to their leadership desire for stability and social harmony. On the people of China, Confucianism impacted their attitude toward life and their set patterns of living and standards of social value. It also established the background of Chinese political theories and institutions. As Confucianism is not properly a religion, it does not have sacred texts as such. However, there are books which have a high profile within Confucianism and which are important to Confucians.
Some favorite Confucian quotes are as follow. Confucius says, "Everything has its beauty, but not everyone sees it." "Ignorance is the night of the mind, but a night without moon and star." "It does not matter how slowly you go, so long as you do not stop." "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in getting up every time we do." "What the superior man seeks is in himself, what the small man seeks is in others."